And here we are now recording like that. So we're now in our CAD like so. And if I want to stop recording, I can just go up to the top of the screen and I can just hit the stop button there like that. So that's a kind of handy one there. So just we were saying there about bringing in layers. So it's always handy to kind of have a construction layer. So if you're doing a lot of construction, you don't have to go changing colors and stuff like that. So you can go into your layer properties like that, hit new layer like so, um, and you can change then. So you can call your already have one for construction, but let's just call this I don't know, green construction. And you can see I just changed the color of it then to green. Click OK. So that's my layers there set up. Click out of that. And don't apply any sort of line weight or anything like that at all. You don't want to try and thicken up the lines. You'll do all that within PowerPoint, say, afterwards. So let's say there's my lines here for transferring across. So they're going to be construction lines. So I can just select their construction and change it like that. And you can see I might want to move this guy here across then so that he's lined up. You can see the construction is over my finished lines there. Within CAD, you can actually select the lines. If you right click over the line, you can actually go draw order and send it to the back of it. So now we've got our finished line over it. And if you look, you see the way I intentionally made him a little bit longer than I needed to there. That means when I bring it into PowerPoint, I have something to kind of grab a hold of, rather than having a line directly behind the line, then making it awkward for you to select it afterwards. So that's our guide there. That just bear in mind, like for this question here, you see this guy here, we knew he was radius 40 from the question. So you actually have a bit of construction to do for that. So think about the students, think about where they're starting. So when you're animating it, let's look at the question. Uh, you see the way you're coming up 60 here, you're coming out 80 there, that out 65, up a total of 70. So if you have height lines and lines coming across that you want them to construct, you can make sure you add that into it. So in this case here, you'd be going across your 65, you could be coming up your 70. So I could actually go and draw in, say up my 70. So I could draw in a line there like that, and have that as construction. So you might actually want to put that in as on the drone. So you can say, okay, guys, we're going to go up to our height of 70. We're going to go across 65. And then you'll have this line here animating. So if you can think about that while you're doing it. Same thing applies, like say, with the likes of this guy here. So we were told the radius of him was 40. So their students are going to need to actually work out where the center is there. There's no point in you in your solution just having the arc drawn in, work away. Because particularly the ordinary level ones, you're going to want to have a kind of that's actually a tricky part of that question if you're in ordinary level. So you go circle, there was our 40 there like that, there's our circle 40 like so, and then I just go circle and I just draw my circle around it like so, and I just trim down like so, and then just delete him. So that's my arcs kind of drawn in from that. So all we can do is we can have our clip art of our compass there on that, and then he'll appear, and then this guy is going to wipe down, then our compass is going to move to here, and he's going to wipe across it like that, and then we're going to have this guy kind of wiping in like that. So that's kind of that's the process that we'll be doing in it. Same thing applies when we're trying to transfer across from our views. Let's just change him to construction. We put in all our construction. So we know if we're going to transfer our heights across, we're going to need him to go across like so. We're going to need this guy to go across here. And again, I'm just going to click on them and right click, draw order, send to back. And same thing applies moving down to my plan view. So we can keep him as he is there. And again, this guy come down. Let's go like that. Anyway, you get the general idea. I'm just kind of drawing in the kind of construction lines that I might need. And that you can go, so you can, you have something there when you're animating that you can go through with them. We have our guy here like that, so he's all looking good there. When it comes to drawing in the solution, I'm just going to simply take my original guy like that, Just going to copy him. And there is our solution here. So the solution is going to be just pretty much done the old-fashioned way. Let's see, that line there, and there, and there. Copy and bring her down. Actually, make sure you do that there. So now I have two lines there, one on top of the other. So I just make sure I delete one of them, so I don't have two copied like that. I'm going to do the same then. Just take this guy here, mirror him down from the center there. There's the mirror of him. We have our height. So when it comes to drawing in our object, depending on how you want to talk this through with the students, I mean, if you want, you can have your arc come in here. So you're talking about this distance here. Where are we getting that distance from? Well, you want to have your arc coming in there. So I draw my circle, right click, draw another circle, and then just trim him down. So you might want to have, just kind of move him over to the side here, just kind of have him in reserve. So you can see there's our arc there like that. I'm going to just copy him. And there he is there for this guy here. In fact, just copy, we can use the same one over here like that. So you mean we have our arcs represented. So you can show, well, look, there's our compass here, taking our measurement from here, and there's our compass here, striking our distance down along the bottom here like that. So you're trying to get into the heads of what you're doing with it. That's going to happen in PowerPoint then, yeah. So we'll dash them in PowerPoint. Okay, let's see it there now. So, bum, 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 bum. I'm not going to go through every single part of this here, Ian, because I think you get the general gist of it there, or what's kind of going on with it. But like, you know, like anything that you're doing here. So like at some point we're going to want to break open this curve here. So you mean, in this case here, you could probably, for the ordinary level ones, a lot of the time you just go and take, say, maybe let's say in this case here, I suppose what would it be? Let's say radius 15. You'd say you take one arc there like that, kind of copy him, move him there. So that's our first arc. There's our second arc. There's our third arc. And there's our fourth. And then we've got a little bit left over. And I'm going to just take that circle that I had left over here from earlier on. And I'm just going to use him to kind of trim down my piece. So there's my arc of it. Let's just copy him there. Think of it like therapy here now. I mean, it's very relaxing. So I'm just going to select those. And using those circles there, I'm just going to trim down what I don't need there. So this arc here that's the bit that's chopping away here. That's the bit that's getting chopped away there. That's the bit gets chopped away there and there. So then when I delete it, you can do that. Like so. So there's our kind of arcs there that you can kind of step along. If you want to transfer those along to our piece here, again, you can go, the easiest way to do is just to draw your arc there like that. Let's say there's our first increment there. We can just pop him there, draw out our line, take him down across. That'll be part of our finished object. So just convert it back. And then I'll be able to go and take each of my increments. So my first one here was 15, so I can just take my 15 and just strike off. How many of them is there? There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, and then we have a spare one at the end. So there'll be one. Copy them then. Actually, I'm just going to draw my construction line along there. Trim him down. Trim. Stop me now if you find that if you want that and kind of clarify there that. So just copying him, grabbing him there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can do the same along the bottom if we wanted, but sure, we can always square it down. So, and then I'm going to go back up to the top here and say, well, we've got this last little bit left over here. So there is our last bit left over. Just using that as my measurement. Oops, grab them there. And just move them down here. So that's the last little bit added on to it there. And then we just take him and we just use him to trim him down a little bit. So let's make it a bit smaller there. Trim. And there we go. That's the kind of the highest point on it there. So change him to finished. And bring him along. And there's our finished gun like that. So we put our finish line over our construction. And let's just take that construction there and copy him down. So, and I can send him to back. So you can see getting all the actual construction, is kind of a large part of what you're going to be doing in CAD. A couple of little things when it comes to your CAD. One thing is when you're using your dimensions, you can make life easier for yourself. You can make life difficult for yourself by what you're bringing in or what you're not bringing in. Let's say you wanted to put a dimension. So I wanted to show that this here is our height here, or this here is where our width is. If I go and use my dimension here, okay, 60 like that. First of all, that's the worst possible scenario that you could ever have, right? What that's going to come in from CAD is that's going to come in as a line. It's going to come in as another line, another line, another line, colored fill, another line, and then this 6 here is going to be made up of a line, 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 a line like that, which you have to group all together. So you're going to have to group a load of different parts to the thing, and the actual color fill here is going to slow your computer down no end, right? So that's a disaster. So what you want to do is you want to adjust your dimensions so that it's going to be compatible with your PowerPoint. First of all, your TXT text here, awful, 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 because it only comes in as lines. So you want to convert that to something that PowerPoint can understand. So Century Gothic, Calibri, Arial, anything that's a regular font will come in as normal. So what I'm going to do is the way we change that is we go up here to our dimension here, we go into our annotation like that, and in your ISO standard here, so your dimension area here like that, we just click on the button there like so, and we just modify the original text like that. Like at the moment, the 60 coming across it there isn't even a standard dimension. That drives me mad actually. That hurts me. So let's change that, right? So let's go symbols and arrows. Let's go and change it to let's see here. Let's say our text. So the text shouldn't be horizontal. The text should be ISO standard. That's to say aligned with it like that. You can change the font size. So let's go into text style. I'm just going to go into the little 3 buttons there, and I'm going to text I always like Century Gothic. It's kind of the nearest to scripting. So there, if I apply that change there and set that as current, close him down. You can see that's changed that. And I want to get rid of the arrows. I don't want the arrows coming in with all this cull filler like that. So I go symbols and arrows, close filled, and I just go down to none. So none like that. And that's all good. So that's exactly what I want there. Click OK. I set that as the current and close it down. So now if we just go, let's redo this guy again here. Let's say there's our dimension. There's our dimension like that. Oh, you see the way he's actually 6 with all the zeros? I can just change that there. So if I go into, again, my annotation, dimension like that, modify him again. And let's see your primary units. At the moment, it's on decimal, engineering, architecture. Let's say our precision here, it's always going to be to a millimeter. So down to 0 like that. So that's going to keep you your thing to your nearest set current dimension. So let's go our linear dimension. There's our linear dimension there like that. And there's our text box like that. So that's exactly what we want. Now, there is a little extra line in here which we don't want, which we can either delete in PowerPoint or you can delete in CAD. If you wanted to delete it in CAD, you're going to need to explode all the various components of this guy. So the way you do that is the explode button here, which is just a box called explode. So if I click that, you see now I've got my series of lines, and I can just actually select this kind of bottom leader line here and just delete him. So that's kind of one tip. Okay, so let's say we went on and we did all the rest of the surfaces, which I don't have that many. I only have to do this surface here and this surface here, and that would be all the ones. So it's not too far off completed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to export that into my PowerPoint. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go up here into my export tab by the top one, and I'm going to go to other format. And the format, if you remember from last year, was a meta file. So I go again, sample.wmf, click like that. And now I'm going to open up my PowerPoint. So let's open up new PowerPoint, blank presentation. And let's go and do this here. So insert is the way we bring it in. Insert picture from this device. And I left it on the desktop in my sample developments folder. And there it is there. And when you're expanding it, right? So when you bring it in first, just right click on it and go group and then go ungroup. That'll convert it into a vector-based file. So that's a PowerPoint line. Right click again, group, ungroup again. And you can see now I've got it broken up into all my individual lines. And if you see the big box around it there, don't forget just to click away and then just click on an empty space and delete that kind of border box that comes in with it, because that's going to prevent, you're going to try and click on the individual lines and that box is essentially in front of everything. So it's a bit of a pain. So what I like to do then at this stage is just select everything, group them all together. So right click and group, or you can just push Control and G as a shortcut, and then expand it. Now you don't want the thing to be stretched as you're expanding it. So what you want to do is you want to hit the Control button on your keyboard and the Shift button on your keyboard. And that means that when you're expanding it, it won't ever go out of, out of kind of proportion. So I'm going to expand the objects there as large as I can go. Let's see, I can kind of see if I'll arrange them there. Right click, group, ungroup. Let's see, will I actually be able to fit them? So, yeah, I should be able to fit them. I might put this little 3D here, kind of, if I have space for him, I'll kind of put him in the bottom corner of that. So I should put him here. Okay, so once I'm doing that, I'm going to Control A for everything, and I'm going to just right click and go to Format Object. You're going to use Format Object a good bit now. So right click Format Object, and the first thing I do is I just click, oh, actually here's the thing. You see the way I don't have any properties for my lines at the moment? There's a simple reason for that. At the moment, all the information that the computer has here isn't just lines, there's text as well. So if I look at it here, I actually put in I have one text box over here, my 40, if you remember there's my 40, I just expand them there. So if I select everything, Control A, you see the way I don't have, if I click line there like that solid line, it's going to change my blue lines back to black, right? So a handy tip for that is if I just undo that, what I do is just unselect, push Control so that you're not unselecting everything else on your keypad, and just unselect all your text boxes. You see the way it automatically, then I'm only left with lines that are selected. So it automatically gives me um, the actual thing for the lines there. So I can actually go and then put in my thickness. For ye, I would say a standard construction will be 1.5 point like that for your width. And then for your finished lines, to put it in as probably about 3, I suppose. If it's a more complicated question, you might want to go maybe 2.5, you mean. But like for an ordinary level question like this, 3 is perfectly good. If you have the majority of your lines construction, I would change them all to 1.5 and then just go and select a couple of lines that aren't construction and make them 3 afterwards. Or if you have all your, if you're like with an ordinary level question here where the majority of your lines are your kind of finished lines and you have very little construction, change everything to 3 point first of all, and then just select a few construction lines. So just to save yourself a bit of hassle, you don't have to go individually through each of them. But like you can see the difference that'll make here. If I just select all those lines there, and like they're my finish lines, so there is 3 like that. So it just means that the finish lines will stand out from it. I'd also go and control, when I've everything selected, control less the actual text, I would change the cap type here to flat, from flat to round, right? And the effect that that has on your thing itself is, if you look here, if I zoom in, you see at the moment there, all your corners line up. If I didn't do that, Control A, and let's just get rid of that pesky text like that. Let's just zoom in on it again. If it was flat, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but it just means that the lines themselves, if I went back to flat here, square, say, it makes the corner square, but then where they join up, they don't join up right. So you end up kind of with things like this here, where you have, you have like lines like that, kind of meeting like that. So it's not quite, it's an easy thing to do when you're doing it at this stage. Just go change them to the round. That's kind of everything then kind of tidied up. When you're going to do your actual thing, that we want to have our hidden lines. So let's go and select any lines that are going to be hidden. So this one here is going to be hidden. This one here is going to be hidden. Actually, I'm just going to select this guy here and make him, again, 3 point there like that. Like that. So hidden, hidden, hidden there like that. This guy here was going to be hidden. And this guy here is going to be hidden as well. So we just go down like so, and then you can see, yeah, dash type here. You can see I just make it dashed like that. And that's going to put it as a hidden line. Same thing applies with my line for my arrowheads. If I select that line there, let's just make him, let's say we want all our dimensions to be the one color. So what's good for you? Green or orange usually is kind of the, okay. So we go green, nice green like that. So, and then you can just select arrowhead type, arrowhead like that, arrowhead here like that for both sides. And then you can put the arrow on it there like that. And you can see if I zoom in on it, there's my arrow like that. And I can change the text like that. Now, when you're doing this, you can save an awful lot of time by just select all the arrows, all the lines that need the arrows. And you can apply the arrow to all of them all at the one time. You just have to do it once. You don't have to be going doing it individually in that. So like it is just click, 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 click all of them and just change the arrow on all of them. So it's not a massive laborsome thing. Same way, you just take all your hidden detail and just change all the hidden detail all at the one time. What I do normally there is I just click on the 2 parts here, actually just click him green as well. And select that and just Control and G groups them together. So now it's going to be animated as one kind of thing. Say change that guy to line to color, like my color like that. Let's look at, say, how we animate this in. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have this 3D here so that it's actually going to be able to use it. So I'm going to go Shapes, Insert Shapes, and then I'm going to go to this freeform shape here. And we're just going to simply click on that. If I hit Shift key, it just locks it to vertical. Click there. I'm not holding any key there. Then click vertical, Shift key to make it vertical. And then I just select a couple of times here like that to give me the curve. That's one of the advantages of having your finish lines as a 0.3, so having them thicker, because it means that it's easier then to click for your solid like that. So there's our guy like that. Let's give that a solid fill. So let's give it a color. I don't know, should we say blue there like that. Right click, send to back. And there's our object like that. And then I'm going to just control on that, select him, and I'm going to reuse him for the inside of my piece. Right click again, send to back, and let's just change the color of him maybe to red. Yeah, and I'm just going to go do the exact same thing for the rest of my piece. So right click there, click there. There's the back of the object. And let's make that yellow. right click, send to back. And let's do the same here for this surface here. And I can do the same for each of my surfaces, including the bits that are hidden, so including maybe the bottom of the piece. And let's go gradient fill there for that, so it can give a nice kind of shady kind of look at it. And let's just pick, oh, I don't know, there like that. And then I'm not going to select, for all these color things here, that I'm going to turn off the actual, the line around it, so there's going to be no border around it. So if you look at each of these here, if I just control and select all of them here, I'm just going to say no line like that, so that way it's going to be hidden behind the kind of thickness of the thing. So I'm going to select him then, select these ones here, and just right click and just send them all to the back, so that they're all kind of the right way around. Actually, can I send him to the back? I don't have any top to it yet, do I? No, that's okay. So insert, same thing again, shapes, like that. So shape like that. Again, no line. So it's not brought that in, and I can just change whatever color I want there. So purple. No line. Right click, send to back. And because that's gone behind the other one, I can just shuffle them back then. So I can click on the red one, right click, send to back, right click, send to back. There like that. If you find when you're putting your color like that in the piece itself that you can find it hard to kind of select something, there's a handy little option here you have in the home tab here. Over here you have the select button. If I select him and I go selection pane, it brings up every single line or point on my object. So let's say at the moment here, let's say this back surface here, if I want to be able to click on him and animate him, I can't click on him at the moment because there's stuff in front of him. So if I click on this guy here, and then as I scroll down along my selection tab here, see the way he's highlighted here? And you have a little kind of graphic there. That's meant to be an eye. So if I click on that, it just hides him. And then I can just go show all then when I'm finished with it. So that way, if you don't have to worry about kind of trying to keep sending things to the back and back and back again. But like, let's say that's our guy like that. So how do I animate that? So let's say we want to work on a particular surface. So if I'm working on, say, this front surface here, what I might want to do is I want all my color portions here to just fade out. Or let's say there's our object. Let's say we just copy them all to start with. Actually, I might just take this one here to finish it off. Freeform shape here and just go click, 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 click. And I'm going to just give that a solid fill. Yeah. Send back, no line, sorry, send back. And then let's just make sure that that red bit there is at the back there. So what I'm going to do is my general color for my object, I'm going to select each of my colors that I can see. I'm going to control and just copy them out to the side here, control and G, and I'm going to just plump them over there and just make sure that they're kind of visible. So like you can select all your, actually that's one thing I should have done at the start there. I can select all the actual lines. And just group them all together. It makes life an awful lot easier afterwards. Let's see if I delete them there. Is that them all? No. And if you're actually selecting something, if you just hold the shift key, it allows you to select more than once. Control will do the same thing. The problem with control is that if I don't select if I miss one of the lines, it'll unselect everything else and you have to go back to the start. Whereas with shift, if you hold shift, it doesn't matter where I select, it'll only just shift by itself, you mean. And I just group them all together there and just see what they look like. Okay, so I'm still missing a few of them. So I'm going to select, so shift, this guy, and this guy. Control and group. I'm missing those two there. Control there, and group them all together. So now I have all the actual wireframe lines there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move this guy over it, and then just select one of my lines there and bring it to the front. So there we are like that. So what you can do is when it comes to animating your your part. Let's say our first surface that we want to have is going to be this blue surface here. Well, as part of my animation sequence, what I can do is I can just say, okay, I've got my general color here like that. I might want that to fade out. So let's go, we have our fade in, or you can have your exit fade out. So that guy there will fade out. Oops, sorry, I faded out the actual line as opposed to the thing itself. So let's just change that animation pane. There it is there. So, and you can see all my panes are automatically stuck in the side in the newer version. That's actually kind of handy. So click there. So let's say I'm clicking the actual color and I go to just animation fade out. So let's just move him out of the way now and say, okay, so that means what I'm going to do then for later on then, I can kind of keep this guy here and, or can I do that with that? I probably don't even need this guy here actually. Yeah, I could probably just have this guy, these guys here fade away or turn the transparency on them to like 100%. So like if I wanted to say, click on this guy, click on this guy here, and if I go and I go fade, see the way they'll all fade out, and you see the way the color behind them now appears. So that's where your animate your whatchamacallit comes into handy, your selection pane. So let's say I want to select, I want to just hide this guy for the moment and select the two colors behind him. I go to my selection pane, hide him there for the moment. That'll allow me to select this guy here, add animation, exit effect, fade out. Then when I go to show all, you can see in my thing that there it is there. So I'm just gonna, there's my first tree, there's my two back that were hidden a second ago. So I'm gonna just select that, make right click on it, start with previous, and you can see the effect that has is, yeah, so we're just gonna, and you were able to say, okay guys, we're gonna just work with this blue one there like that. If I want them to all to reappear again, I just select from my animation pane, pushing shift just to select from all, or control if you want to individually select them. I'm just gonna go to add animation and make them fade back in. So let's just delete him there. Let's see the effect that has. So there we go. They fade out. Now we're going to focus on this blue one. Then they fade back in, focusing on that. So you mean each that time in that way, like I mean, before you start developing your side, you're able to actually say, okay, this is the one we're focusing on. What view do we see this in? What one is it TrueLint in? So on and so forth. And aside from that, then it's just a case of, okay, well, if that's the guy we're focusing on, you mean you can go and you can highlight the actual surface if you wanted in your view up here. A quick way to do that would be just to grab the actual lines that you have up here. Actually, I'm going to just drag out the bottom line there as well. If I just push the control button, that's just dragging a copy of him out there like that. I'm just going to control and G, copy them all. It's going to double tap on this guy here, just with using the shift key. I'm going to just move him across, just trim him down a bit. Move them across here like that. And I'm going to just take those lines and in my format object, I'm going to maybe change them to red. And then within the little pentagon here, my effects, I'm just going to maybe make a little glow there. So let's have a little yellow glow, like so. So now we place him back over the piece. We animate him then, so he's just going to appear. And if you want, you can even click on him again and go add animation, and you can have him pulse. So pulse just allows it to kind of spring like that. You can see in our animation there, the first one is appear. If I right click on that, I go after previous, and let's look at the effect that that has. So there's a guy fades out. We're going to focus in on that front surface there like that. Where do we see that? Well, we see that in our front elevation there like that. And you can see then when you're done with it, you can just select your guy like that, add animation, more effects, and have him fade out like that. So that's kind of your simple kind of way to do that. Say like, and that's useful. Say like when you're talking about like the plan view there, you can again have your rectangle there highlighting for that. So you're able to kind of link back and forth between your 2D, between your 3D, back and forth. If we want to put in the likes of our arcs, let's just look at that. So I'm just going to go onto the internet here and just download a clip art and compass. drawing. And looking at there's, yeah, that's the out standard one. So there's a nice compass like that with no background to it, which is kind of what you want. So right click on that, copy link, and then just, oh, sorry, not copy link, copy image, and then right click paste. Let's see, will that, can I get that to come through without the background there? I might just have to save it there. Save image as compass. Actually, I think I've already downloaded one already. Save. And let's go back in it there and see what she looks like there. So insert image, picture, this device. And we just go to the pictures tab here, compass. Okay, so that's taking that in with the background. I can go and I can tidy it up by removing the background if I wanted to. That should do that. You know, actually not quite. Move background, area to keep. That little area there. Happy days. So now we have our compass. So all I can do is, I think Corey, you were asking about this before. You mean you're saying about like sizing up the compass? You can, if you want, kind of go like try and say, okay, well look, there's our compass. Just kind of adjust it like that, say, and kind of tinker around by just making it larger or smaller. You know, you can kind of go and increase in that. It gets very very fiddly, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, because you're and like you end up with a tiny small compass and with quite a large compass. To be honest, the students don't even really kind of connect the two together. Like unless you're going to be able to move the legs of the compass so that it's actually changed in size in that. But that's an awful lot more work. What I'd say is really from your point of view, you know, you just want to show or highlight that the point of the compass is on your line. So I'd make them just nice and small like that. Just have the point of the compass where, you know, where you're striking your arc from. So if we're, you know, there's our compass like that. You're just going to basically animate that he appears. So animations, he's going to appear. And then you have your guy here like this. So your arc, fade, or not fade, sorry, wipe in, like so. And then you can just, yeah, have him either on the click or you can have it after with it, so the two will happen at the one time. And remember, if you want to have your compass then for the next one here like that, you mean once you just select the compass, if you push control, you can just copy them like so. If you push the shift key or the alt key, it means that it won't be locked to a grid, so you have free movement out of it. But like there is that, you can see it actually brings in the animation automatically for it as well. So once you copy that, it copies it with the animation. So then you can just go and select your next arc there like that. If you have a lot of arcs like that, again, don't forget you can always just click the arc and go with your selection pane here, and you can just hide it if you find that you know, you've just a bit too many of them, or you can't select something. Like in this case here, I'm finding I can't really select the actual arc behind the actual image. So what I'll do there is I could either drag a box to encompass it. Should be able to. No, won't let me do that. So I can just go select this guy here, hide him, and now I can select my arc there like that. So now I can animate my arc, and again, when I show this, I can just bring him back in then after. So that's kind of, that'll work that way like that. And you know, and that way then, so as you go along, say, you know, we draw in this surface here, then we go to the next surface. So if the next surface we want is the bottom surface, we can just fade this guy out, and have the other guy fading in. So you have your block colors kind of coming in and going then. And that's it. If you had, say, the likes of a true length line that you wanted to kind of show with something, you can animate it within PowerPoint. So if you have rabatting an edge for a pyramid around, say, what you can do is you can draw it in 3D within your SolidWorks. So you can actually draw the actual original edge, and then you can draw the rabatted edge and bring them in. But if you're bringing them in from from SolidWorks, bring them in as a sketch line. Don't bring them in as an extruded cylinder or something like that, because then you've got loads of lines that you have to deal with. It's always easier just to have a single line and just animate that single line. Same way, your arc of the actual line swinging around, it's easier just to draw that as a sketched arc in SolidWorks, bring it into your CAD, and then bring it into PowerPoint, so you can just wipe him, so it makes it look like it's kind of swinging around. But that's the general idea of that. I think we, you saw kind of like the earlier examples that I was kind of showing you from the book there, where like the idea, essentially what you're kind of going for there is, do I have it here? I don't have developments there. They're the early ones, but where you have your 3D kind of, this is the surface we're working on. Then it's worked out in 3D. This is our line swinging around. It's happening in our 3D. If you want, then at the very end, you can have your 3D showing your development of your object. So the way you go about doing that would be to go back into your SolidWorks, and on your guy here like this, you can actually go and convert him to sheet metal and have them expanded out. As long as you're keeping the same viewpoint, you can just place it over the other one. So you can bring that into your CAD as your lines, and then just place it on top of your kind of original kind of object there like that. Or you could just go and draw it out. Just, if I wanted to go select the front plane there, um, select the front plane. Let's just go into there and sketch. So we're drawing on the front plane. I'm going to convert entity, but I don't need to convert entities that actually. We can go and we can draw in a rectangle and just put in your dimensions there, so you can actually have your full development, out kind of in 3D on that. Or if I was folding it out flat from the top, I could, create my sketch on the bottom here and have it folding out flat like that. You won't be able to animate it folding out is the only thing, but I mean, you will be able to have it. The only way to have it animated folding out is actually if you have to draw it in phases or stages as it's folding out, and then basically put them together like a flick book kind of. That I done that for a few of the animations, and it takes a bloody age and a half. It's very, very cumbersome. And you don't gain an awful lot from it, to be honest with you. Like, I think it's enough that you can see the surface you're working with, and you get, by showing this the final solution, it's enough that it shows, okay, this is what it looks like folded out kind of in real life. Guys, have you any particular thing you want to know about that there? I'll hit stop recording there and see.